Hello, guys, and welcome back to the FPL Duo. We're back for a team selection video for Double Game Week 23. We will also go and review Double Game Week 22 before we do get into our 23 team. But before we start, Jordan, how you doing? Everything good?
Yeah, everything's good. Another Double Game Week wraps up. The last game was played yesterday, Man United and Leeds. I heard it was quite an exciting game, but unfortunately I didn't watch it because it wasn't broadcasted, unfortunately, on TV. But other than that, hope you guys enjoyed the football in this game week, and hopefully you've all done well.
Yeah, we're going to get on to Double Game Week 22 and let's review because we did a knee-jerk stream, but that was before Manchester United's draw yesterday to Leeds, which was 2-2. It was an interesting game. Obviously, Man United being 2-0 down, but they came back to get a point. So let's bring up our teams and talk about, how we did. So I'll bring my team up first. And as you guys can see, it was not another great week, but it was a great week for me because it was a massive green arrow. I think it was a 500k green arrow for me, which is probably the biggest, probably my best game week in terms of like jump in overall rank. So yeah, let's get into it and how it panned out. So I got Danny Ward in goal. We know Danny Ward conceded, I believe he conceded 2 goals to Aston Villa in their loss 4-2. So nothing to mention there with the clean sheet. Not a clean sheet. Obviously, wiped out by Villa. Moving on to the back three. Trippier, 2-2. Was it 2-2? No, sorry, it was 1-1. Newcastle 1-1 draw against West Ham. Trippier did concede what it feels like for the first time in ages. So unfortunately, no clean sheet for him. Moving on to Ben White, we know Arsenal did lose 1-0 in a surprise loss to Everton. And of course, 1-0 loss. So Ben White clean sheet was wiped and he only got the 2 points from me. Moving on to Luke Shaw, who did have a double game week. I'm a bit disappointed with the 6 points. I expect a bit more from Luke Shaw. No clean sheets for Man United in those 2 games, surprisingly. Obviously, they conceded a 1 goal to Crystal Palace, and Manchester United also conceded 2 goals to Leeds. So no clean sheet. But Luke Shaw did pick up an assist against Palace, which was nice. So he got 5 points against Crystal Palace for the assist. And then he only got 1 point last night for, minutes played. Got the -1 point for goals conceded. So he ends up on 6 points. Moving on to the midfield, let's start with the Arsenal players. Saka, Martinelli both blanked due to, them not scoring against Everton in that loss. For Martinelli was quite poor in that game. Got a bit underwhelming. Obviously, Saka was not that great either, not as involved as Martinelli. Sorry, Martinelli not as involved as Saka. But either way, 2 points from Saka, 1 point from Martinelli. So it wasn't the greatest in terms of, the Arsenal picks. Moving on to De Bruyne, who did also blank. Now, De Bruyne didn't actually start against Spurs. And when the lineup came out, I was actually quite surprised that De Bruyne didn't start. It goes on that Spurs actually win the game 1-0. De Bruyne does come on around the 60th minute mark or 50th minute mark, I think. And he played about 30 minutes, I think, as well. He played half an hour, blanked, obviously, only got the 1 point. So a bit annoying. And hopefully he does start in the Double Game Week 23. He is in my plans. I don't plan to sell him because of the double. And hopefully he can play in at least both those games and get me some returns. Let's move on now to the main focal point of Game Week 22. And that is Manchester United and the 2 players that are, that I have in my team, which is first off, Bruno Fernandes, 12 points, which was a pretty good score for him. I was confident on Bruno getting a decent score, and 12, still pretty good. He got 10 points against Palace, got the 3 bonus points and the goal he scored in that first game against Palace. And then second game, he had Leeds. He blanked against Leeds, no goal, no assist, no bonus points either. So all in all, his total is 12 points, which is still pretty respectable. I'm happy that, I had him in my team as he was transferred in. And his ownership's about 14%. So, not too bad from Fernandes right there. Let's move on to the main player from my team, which is, he's pretty much scored most of my points. More than 50% of my points come from Rashford. For those that didn't watch the deadline stream, I did triple captain Rashford. I was definitely going to captain Rashford from the minute I knew he had a double game week against Leeds and Palace. I was going to captain him, but triple captain I was a bit 50-50 on. But then when I thought about it more, I thought, it's a good time to play it, so why not? And I needed to do something a bit different. My rank wasn't as great. So I went ahead and I triple captain Rashford, and it paid off big time. He went and got me 60 points. Obviously, he got 20 points, and it's trebled. So, against Crystal Palace, he got an assist, which was 3 points. He got the 2 bonus points as well, which was nice to see. And obviously, he scored against Palace as well, and that got me 5 points. And then last night, he also scored it yet again. Another goal from Rashford. I think that's 6 games in a row he scored now in the Premier League. He also got 1 bonus point as well yesterday. So 20 points total times 3. You got 60 points from there. Can't really complain. The triple captainship. I think this is my best triple captain score since playing FPL properly, 60. So I'm very happy about that, and that I went there. Moving on to the front line, which, as you can see, was a lot worse than Rashford, Haaland, and Mitrovic both blanking. Haaland couldn't score against Tottenham. I believe Haaland didn't even have a single touch inside the Tottenham penalty area, which was a bit frustrating, maybe a bit surprising. But yeah, that was a bit annoying. But because I didn't captain Haaland, I actually was better off that he blanked, because otherwise, my rank wouldn't be as strong, because a lot of people did captain Haaland. So him blanking was actually a good thing, with Rashford getting the goals instead. Finally, we've got Mitrovic, who did blank against Chelsea in that 0-0 draw. Quite a boring game and not much to really discuss. I think Mitrovic had 1 shot near the halfway line. He tried to, outfox Kepa, but Kepa did save it. But other than that, that is the team, guys. So all in all, it's been a good game week for me. 92 points. And my rank is now 1.1 million. It was 1.6 million in game week 2021. So a 500k rank increase, which is the biggest, as I've said, so far this season. And on the bench, not much to really discuss. Greenwood got 2 points, and yeah, that is the team. So yeah, that's game week 22 out of the way. I am going to get into my game week 23 stuff in a bit, but before we do, make sure you do comment on the video as well, and also if you haven't liked the stream, subscribe as well to the channel if you can. Let's bring up your game week 22 team, Jordan. Just review it quickly for us and talk us through any incidents and talking points of your team.
Yeah, let's start off with Ederson in goal, who was in the 1-0 defeat against Spurs. And yeah, the clean sheet was taken away from Man City in that game, as well as a point taken off Ederson for getting a yellow card too. So that leaves him with only 1 point from that match. So nothing real much to discuss about Ederson. Moving on to the back 3, we've got Trippier, who finally does blank after it seems like months ago that he had a blank. But yeah, I think some of us are fortunate that he does blank, because we're not in the luxury of having double Newcastle or having Nick Pope either. So I think a blank's not a bad thing if we only own Trippier. But yeah, interesting to see him blank against West Ham of all teams. Next we have Ben White. This was probably a very shocking result. Well, Everton did win 1-0 under the new manager, Sean Dyche, who his first game, he couldn't have won a better game in this current season, as Arsenal are the top team. But yeah, massive win for Everton, winning 1-0, and a massive bounce for Everton as well, from jumping from relegation spot now in 17th place, I believe. But unfortunately, Ben White did get a clean sheet white for that game and only got 2 points. Moving on to Luke Shaw, who did get 6 points. He did get an assist on Rashford's goal in the first fixture, which was Crystal Palace. In the second fixture, though, against Leeds, he only got 1 point because they did concede 2 goals, so a point was taken away from him from that. And in total, that just left him with 6 points. So I feel like Man United were robbed of a clean sheet in that Crystal Palace game, obviously from Casemiro getting that red card did affect them, as well as almost made them lose the game effectively from that. But I feel like if Casemiro didn't get that red card, I think Luke Shaw would have had a double pointer right there. But yeah, I'll still take 6 points. Is better than nothing. Moving on to the midfield. So we start off with Martinelli, who is on another blank again. He was taken off later on in the second half for Trossard, which may worry some people now that his minutes may be a bit managed between both of them now, as he probably won't play the full 90 minutes all the time now, as there is now Trossard to replace Martinelli if need be, depending on if they're struggling or doing well. But a lot of people will be thinking now what to do with Martinelli. I'm still probably going to keep him despite him blanking back to back and onwards. He does have a double next in Double Gameweek 23, so I think I'll be hanging on to him despite the many blanks he's had. Moving on to Amaron, who also did have another blank as well. And yeah, this was a bit surprising, I guess, against West Ham. I thought he would flourish in that fixture, but unfortunately not. He did get only 2 points from that game. He seems to play a bit more further back now that Wilson has returned, which may affect his performances from game weeks where Wilson has been involved. So maybe that has something to do with it. We have to see what he does against Bournemouth in the next fixture. Moving on to the Man United duo. So we've got Bruno Fernandes, who comes off with a 12-pointer. He did score a penalty in the first fixture against Crystal Palace. He didn't get anything in the second fixture, unfortunately. He did blank in that one. But he did get a nice double haul. I think he got a bonus 3 on top of the goal we did score in the first fixture, which was still relatively nice from the double. And moving on to Rashford, who did score 2 goals and I think got 1 assist as well as bonus points on top of that, which leaves him with 20 points. I kind of did lose out on points for not captaining him, as he was the best captain I could probably have in my team with the most points. But at the same time, I wasn't going to take the risk on not going with Rashford, just in case Haaland did flourish, but he didn't. But yeah, it's a good return for Rashford, nonetheless. I mean, when he did score yesterday, it did kind of affect my rank, because he is one of those players that would kill my rank if he did do exceptionally well. So he did drop my rank down from like 300k to down to 400k. So it wasn't too bad, but it still affects your rank when a player has been triple captained and captained a lot in the game week. And then finally we got the last midfielder who I did bring in for game week 22, and that is Mitoma, who I know Hussers mentioned a long time ago. Mitoma was a hot pick, and I decided to finally bring him in game week 22, where we had Bournemouth, and it did pay off. So he did get a double haul of 11 points. He did score really late in that game, because I was a bit worried he was going to blank against Bournemouth, but he did score a goal and got the bonus point, the clean sheet point on top of that. So it was a nice 11 point from Mitoma, and I'm happy to be a Mitoma owner who's now relishing the rewards that he is giving. And moving on to the front two, we've got Haaland, who was my captain pick, who did blank in that Tottenham game, the London derby. I kind of should have thought about this before I put the captaincy on him with such confidence, because Tottenham did do a good job at defending and stopping Haaland last time. So I should have really expected that to be the same process again. But I thought without the manager being there, it may affect their teamwork and whatnot for Spurs. But it's the best I've seen Spurs play. I mean, I can't remember the last time Spurs got a clean sheet at all. It's been a long time, and it was without Conte being there, which is quite funny as well. They get a clean sheet without the actual manager being behind them. But yeah, only 4 points for Haaland. I did captain him, so he did get only 4 points there. And we'll finally move on to Nketiah, who did blank against Everton. Obviously, Arsenal didn't score in that fixture, and Nketiah didn't get anything apart from 2 points in that game. And just a quick rerun for those who didn't watch the video of the deadline stream and whatnot. I did use my bench boost chip, and I'll just briefly go over the bench. So I did have Meslier, who did have a double, Man United, and also Nottingham Forest. He did blank clean sheet wise in both of those fixtures. So he only got 4 points. So only the 2 points from each fixture where he played the full 90 minutes. But I still take 4 points. That kind of acts like almost like a clean sheet from one game. Next, we have Tony, who did surprisingly blank in the fixture. Even though they won 3-0, I was quite surprised Tony wasn't a part of that at all. Not even one assist, even. So I was quite annoyed. He only got a yellow card in that game. I think that was the only downfall to my bench boost was Tony blanking. But yeah, we move on from that. And next we got Lewis Dunk, who did get a clean sheet. I think this was against. I can't remember who it was against, but it was a clean sheet anyway. He did get 6 points and a bonus 1 on top of that. So it was
Bournemouth.
It was Bournemouth. Yeah, so it was a nice clean sheet expected from Bournemouth game. And then finally we got Ben Mee, who was the best player on my bench boost. He did score against Southampton and did get a bonus on top of that as well, which leaves him with 13 points, as well as the clean sheet there. And yeah, that was I was quite hoping that Ben Mee would do something more than a clean sheet in that game. And I kind of had a funny feeling he would. And he did score, which was a delight for me, especially on the bench boost, which I think got 24 points from the bench boost. So it's not too bad. I think I used it at the right time. I don't think I regret using it for this game week because it has sort of paid off for me. And yeah, that's pretty much my team talked about. My current rank is 422, so it is still a green arrow, even though it did drop about 100k. And I finished the week off with 87 points, so it was a high scoring week. And my total points is 1,345. So that is my summary of Double Game Week 22.
Okay, thank you for that. So that's your Game Week 22 team out of the way. So I've showed you guys my Game Week 22 as well. If you guys have enjoyed so far, make sure you drop a like on the video if you can. Let's move on to Double Game Week 23, because obviously it's a team selection video. We'll quickly recap as always, and let's bring up our teams. So this is what I look like for Double Game Week 23 so far. This is my team, my bus team. I'll just quickly go through the team and my transfer plans as well. So in goal, I do have Danny Ward, who has Spurs at home. I am not confident on a Leicester clean sheet. Ward is one of those players that hasn't really paid off for me. I only bought him in because he was cheap and I couldn't afford Kepa when I done my Game Week 17 wildcard, or I would have had Kepa in my team. Which was annoying because Kepa's gone and got a bunch of clean sheets. So yeah, Ward is in goal. I don't see a clean sheet for him, to be fair, but it is what it is. I got the back three of Ben White, who's got a double game week against Brentford at home and then Man City at home as well. So 2 home fixtures for Ben White. Hopefully he can get me at least 1 clean sheet. It's going to be a tough game, obviously, against Man City, but we'll see because Arsenal are playing well. City coming off the loss of Tottenham, so you never know. Maybe the Arsenal can get something from that game. Moving on to Kieran Trippier, who has Bournemouth away. Now, Kieran Trippier has kept a bunch of clean sheets this season, as well as Newcastle, and I think this is a nice fixture for Trippier and Newcastle. So I expect a clean sheet, maybe a defensive, an attacking return as well from Trippier. But even if he does, it's one of those, he's so highly owned, he won't even matter to the rank. So let's see what happens with Trippier. Finally, moving on to Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw does play Leeds away. Obviously, Man United just played Leeds last night, but they play him again on the weekend, which is such a quick turnaround, 2 games in succession. I think Luke Shaw could keep a clean sheet in that game. I know Leeds did score 2 goals against them last night, but I still think it's a decent fixture for Man United. And I think I may keep Shaw. There was some rumours. Sorry, not rumours. There was certain plans that I was going to, consider taking out Luke Shaw for maybe someone like Akanji or Ake. But I don't know if I want a Man City defender, if I'm honest. So I think I might just keep Luke Shaw and think he's a good pick. Could get another assist. Moving on to the midfield five, as you can see, I do have a few players in there that have doubles as well. So starting off with Martinelli, who has Brentford and City. I think I may hold Martinelli. I think ideally I'd want Odegaard. I could switch Martinelli out to Odegaard for my free transfer, but I don't know if it's worth a transfer to do a sideways move like that potentially. So yeah, I think I'm going to keep Martinelli, and hopefully he can end his blanks in recent weeks and against a goal against Brentford or City. We'll see. And hopefully he can do the business. But moving on to Saka, who I believe is one of the better Arsenal assets to own. He's got Brentford and City as well. And yeah, I think Saka is a very good pick because Odegaard and Saka for me are the number top two picks as well as Nketiah. But yeah, I expect Saka to have a good game against Brentford and City, and I can definitely see him scoring in one of those. And he's a bit of a differential. His ownership's not as high as Martinelli, so I'm hoping Saka can get something in those two games. Moving on actually to Bruno Fernandes and De Bruyne, who we'll come on to. Actually, let's speak about De Bruyne first. De Bruyne plays Villa at home and Arsenal away. Now, these are two, one's quite tough against Arsenal away, obviously going for the title in that top of the table clash. And then De Bruyne against Villa at home. I think De Bruyne is still a hold. A lot of people are, kind of put off by De Bruyne now, but I still think he's a good hold because against Aston Villa, I'd expect him to start, and you never know, he can get an assist or a goal in that game with Haaland up there. A lot of us will be captaining Haaland as well, I think, in this game week, and maybe De Bruyne, after that loss against Tottenham, Pep will put him back into the team to show what he can do, and he's Man City's main creative outlet. So I'd expect De Bruyne to be back into the side against Villa. It's a good game for him at home where they need to win to bounce back, and I'm happy to hold De Bruyne definitely for this game week. Moving on to the Man United players, I've got Fernandes and Rashford. They have a single game week, of course, against Leeds away. I think it's a nice fixture for them, regardless of the result last night. There was a slight thinking, should you take one of them out for maybe a Man City midfielder like a Mahrez, etc. But I don't know. I don't know if I'd go there because I still think Fernandes, if he gets a penalty, Rashford's on form as well, so both of them can score against Leeds. So I'm, leaning towards keeping both of them, and I think it's a good game for returns from either. Finally, moving up front, I've got Haaland up front against Villa and Arsenal. He's my captain for Double Gameweek 23 as of now. I think the Aston Villa fixture looks good for him, and even Arsenal. I think he can still score against Arsenal because he's that player that can score in any game week, and because it's a double, it's very hard to look past Haaland in a double game week. So he's my captain. I don't think that's going to change, and hopefully he can bounce back from that disappointing performance against Tottenham. Moving on finally to Mitrovic, who I've been patient with. I've held on to him for quite a while now. He has had a few blanks recently, but he's got Nottingham Forest now at home as well. I think it's a good fixture for him. Hopefully he can add to his goal tally. He's playing very well so far this season in terms of goal output. And I'm hoping he can do the job and I've held on to him for this long for fixtures like these when it slightly turns again, and let's see what he can do. Just for my transfer plans quickly, I have one free transfer in the bank. I also have 1.1 million in the bank, sorry. And my current plan is to actually roll the transfer. So my plan is to stick with the team you see on the screen, roll the transfer, and have 2 free transfers for game week 24 ahead of that, double game week 25 as well, where I might want to make big changes. So I think rolling the transfer could be okay, especially with the way my team is set up. I do have, 5 double game week players in White, Martinelli, Saka. So I have triple Arsenal and I have double City in Haaland, De Bruyne. I don't really want a Man City defender. I don't know if it's worth it. They're not keeping as many clean sheets. The only player I have actually considered is Mahrez potentially in for Fernandes or someone like that. But I think Fernandes is a good pick, and I'm not sure if I want to do Fernandes to Mahrez. I may do it. You'll have to wait and see in the deadline stream. But for now, Fernandes is going to stay, and the plan is just to roll the move and have 2 free transfers for game week 24. So that's the transfer plans out the way, guys. That's what I'm going to do, I think. But yeah, let's move on to your team, Jordan. Talk us through your plans and even your captain picks and stuff for Double Game Week 23.
Okay, so this is how my team looks like for Game Week 23. So we'll start off with Edison, who is my goalkeeper for Man City, who does double against Aston Villa at home and Arsenal away. Man City haven't really kept many clean sheets this season, and it doesn't fill with much confidence that Edison will keep one in either of those fixtures. So that is my only worry, that Edison may potentially only get 4 points from these two doubles. I can't really see get a clean sheet against Arsenal away, and underneath Emery now, Aston Villa, they looked more improved. Even though it's a home fixture for Man City, I still doesn't fill me with confidence, especially their new reformed defence now without Cancelo being there. It does look like Man City's defence is more vulnerable this season than it has been previously. So we have to see what Edison can do. Maybe Man City can keep a clean sheet at least in one of those fixtures, but if I had to suspect where it's coming from, I can only see that coming from Aston Villa. Well, that's a very slim chance, I think. But moving on to the back three, we start off with Ben White, who does have Brentford at home, Man City at home. So Arsenal do have two nice home fixtures, similar to Man United. Probably a little bit more tricky with the Man City fixture being one of them. But I think for the Brentford one at home, Arsenal potentially keep a clean sheet in that game. I think Ben White has been annoying for me because every time I've benched him, he gets a clean sheet. But every time I play him, he gets a blank. So Ben White has been one of those tricky players where if I start him, he won't get a clean sheet. But if I bench him, he will. So hopefully he can get at least one in one of these fixtures. And I'm probably siding more to the Man City one getting that sort of win because it is going to be a tough kind of stalemate. I don't really see many goals in that game. And potentially maybe a draw possibly. It'd be very surprising if there's no goals in that still at the same time. But I'm hoping for a clean sheet for Ben White, please. Moving on to Trippier, who does have a very nice favourable fixture in this double game week, and that is Bournemouth away. It's a single game week for Trippier, but I think it is obviously one where you think Newcastle could easily get a clean sheet in this one, despite conceding to West Ham, who haven't looked great this season. I think Bournemouth, I'd be very surprised if Bournemouth do score. I mean, Solanke is out for their team, and it doesn't look like he's returning any time soon from his injury. So they have lost their main goal scorer for Bournemouth. So that does give Trippier and Newcastle in general to pretty much have a lot of the ball in that game, and potentially Trippier getting an attack in return. And it doesn't bode well or much for our ranks, as Trippier is highly owned anyway, but it'll just be nice to see Trippier back on the point sheet. And moving on to the final defender, and that is Luke Shaw, who has Leeds away. Now, we have seen this before where a manager is sacked and the team obviously bounces back from a manager being sacked or replaced, because we've seen it with Aston Villa, with Emery coming in, with Everton as well, with Sean Dyche. And I think with the result last night when Man United played Leeds, we sort of saw that same situation where the manager Jesse March was terminated as a manager there, and suddenly Leeds have looked much better without him, which is quite a surprise. But at the same time, it's sort of a pattern that's evolving from managers being sacked and new managers coming in, changing the dynamics of a team. But even though that is the case, Luke Shaw is still a good asset because he is an attacking returner as well. He's scored, he's got assists as well. And the Leeds away fixture, even though it was a draw in the first game, it still means there's always potential for Luke Shaw to get an attack and return if he doesn't get a clean sheet in that fixture. So if you get one or the other, I mean, it's still a good thing for Luke Shaw to have him as well, as he is a decent defender, as there aren't many, as we know, premium-wise to go for. So I think Luke Shaw is definitely one to have for that Leeds away fixture. And now moving on to the congested midfield five, we'll start off with Martinelli, who does have a nice, attractable double game week fixture, both at home, same as Ben White. Martinelli has blanked in the past 4 game weeks, so it does leave a lot of I'll say FPL owners worried whether if you keep Martinelli or transfer him out for another Arsenal or Man City midfielder. Personally, for me, I'm going to keep Martinelli. I don't think I'll be transferring him out or anything like that, just because I feel like it would be a sideways move to get rid of Martinelli for another double game week player like Odegaard, for example, who has looked more better, hasn't really blanked as much as Martinelli, but sooner or later, Martinelli's got to come out with something. I'd be very surprised if he blanks in both of those fixtures. I think they're really good fixtures for him to get back on the return sheet and potentially get something from that match. If it is to be Brentford or even Man City, it could be a surprise that he gets it from Man City fixture. They're both at home, so the fans will be behind him, and I'm sure he'll bounce back. Next, we have Mitoma, who does have Crystal Palace away. He did well against Bournemouth, Mitoma, so I kind of expect him to do well against Crystal Palace, who defensively have looked really bad. They have struggled to get wins recently, and they're conceding goals. And for Brighton, Mitoma is becoming a rising star every game week now. And I think since Trossard has left the club, I think honestly he's pretty much been a replacement Mitoma for him. He's literally on fire currently, and can't wait to see what he can do against Crystal Palace away. Be an interesting fixture for Brighton. It won't be the easiest because it is an away fixture, as well as Crystal Palace will probably be defending most of that game, as Brighton are kind of transformed into an attacking team rather the team we saw last season where they were more defensive. Moving on to Almiron, who does have Bournemouth away. He's yet another player similar to Martinelli who has had a few blanks in his current game weeks. I think this is last chance saloon for Almiron in this fixture. If he doesn't really get anything at all in his Bournemouth away fixture, then he potentially could be a transfer plan move into game week 24. Newcastle do blank, I believe, in 25, so that does relieve one slot for a blank game week player and replace him with someone else. But I think since Wilson has returned back into the squad, though, it has made Almiron fall back a bit from that attacking position that he was in before. But we'll have to see what he does against Bournemouth. Maybe he can get something from that, as it will be an open game for Newcastle. Moving on to the Man United duo in the midfield. So we've got first Bruno Fernandes, who does have Leeds away. There's no doubt, even though Fernandes did blank in his last fixture, which Leeds, doesn't give me doubt that he can get a return in this Leeds away fixture. I mean, he is on penalties, set pieces pretty much. And yeah, he's definitely a player that I would consider holding, even though Man United also another team that do blank in 25. I'm definitely going to navigate around that for him in the future long term, because Man United's fixtures aren't too bad in the long term run. They're still pretty good. And even though they did draw against Leeds, it was a massive comeback for them because they were losing 2-0. And it's a team that is scoring more goals now, and they look pretty good, much better than the start of the season. So I have faith that Fernandes can still do well for me. And now moving on to Rashford, who you could say is like the second version of Haaland almost. He's a rising star coming up into another goal streak for him, scoring in both his double game fixtures in 22. And now he's against Leeds again, which he could possibly score in that fixture as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if Rashford keeps going on with his goal streaks, especially for the Leeds, who have looked still defensively not great, but they have improved since Jesse March was sacked. But I still think Rashford, as the main goal scorer for Man United, can still put them away. And now finally moving on to the front two, we have Nketiah, who has a double for Brentford home and Man City home. I'm quite excited to see what Nketiah does in this double game week fixture. I do think he could do really well, potentially getting a double haul. I don't know if anyone's considered if they dare triple captain Nketiah, because it would be a great differential triple captain to go for, because they are both home fixtures, and Man City as well haven't really looked defensively strong. So there always is a possibility that Nketiah could put one behind Man City. I mean, he put two against Man United, and I never saw that coming. So it it wouldn't surprise me if he puts 2 against Man City, if I'm honest. But yeah, we have to see what Nketiah does in both of those double game week fixtures. And then finally, we got the last man in my team, who is Erling Haaland, who has Aston Villa at home and Arsenal away. He is potentially a triple captain option if you prefer or still have your chip and didn't go for it in the other double game week that Man City did have, where he only scored 1 goal. Personally, for me, I'm not really going to look forward to using my triple captain chip on Haaland for this double. I think it is a really tricky double, and it's one that my gut is telling me not to go for, as we've seen improvement from Aston Villa since the manager was sacked and Emery was appointed. And Arsenal, we've seen it's going to be a tough fixture for Haaland. They're not going to give Haaland any breathing space whatsoever. I think it'll be similar to Spurs, where they were smothering Haaland, pretty much 2 men on him at all times, and not giving him any involvement in the game, because we all know Haaland is the direct source of goals for Man City, it seems, at the moment. And Arsenal and Aston Villa teams will obviously know this and will make life harder for Haaland to get on the ball as well as shoot and score goals. So he is my current captain pick, though, nonetheless, because obviously he's a double game week player, and yeah, I probably wouldn't go for a single game week player for this double. But yeah, that is my starting 11 team going forward into double game week 23. I'll just briefly go through my team bench before I mention my transfer plans. So we've got Meslier, who has Man United at home, Tony, who's got Arsenal away, Lewis Dunk, who's got Crystal Palace away, and Ben Mee, who's got Arsenal away. So there is pretty tricky fixtures on the bench. I don't expect any of those players to really excel points, apart from maybe Dunk, who could potentially get a clean sheet in that Crystal Palace game. But other than that, I don't really see any other player doing well. I'd be surprised if Tony does, but I can't really do much with that because I don't really want to play Tony, who has Arsenal away. But moving on to my transfer plans, I do have one free transfer and a lot of money in the bank, 6.5 million, and my team value is 96.7 million. Now, this is going to be pretty boring, but I'm also going to roll the transfer over into game week 24, so I won't be using any transfers. I don't think I need to necessarily use any. I've got enough double game week players. I ain't really looking for any other double game week players. They couldn't really fit even if I tried, because I do have Tony on the bench. I have thought about taking out Tony for Harry Kane, but I'm still in that predicament of where do I play Harry Kane? On my starting 11, I don't really want to bench anyone. So for me...
No, sorry, I was going to say, I want to pull up this comment from FPL Penguin. He says he's doing Almiron to Mahrez. Have you given this a thought? Because obviously you can pretty easily afford this move and bring in another doubler in Man City, or you're not keen on it yourself.
No, I'm not keen on it. I mean, with Man City, I don't know what it is with Man City, but midfielders are not on my radar, even though Morris could really do well in this double game week. Don't get me wrong. He could be a massive pick for many, but for me personally, I'll be very regretting it if Almiron does do well against Bournemouth, especially when it's Bournemouth as well. We've seen goal scorers in that game against them where any player can potentially score, even though Almiron's had many blanks. And even though Mahrez does have an extra fixture ahead of Almiron, it's just, it is risky, because I don't know if Mahrez will be taken off like he was in the last fixture where he only played 60 minutes. But yeah, we'll have to see. I imagine he will do well. But yeah, that is pretty much my plans for moving forward. I'm not going to use a transfer. I'm rolling the transfer over. And yeah, that is pretty much what my plans are.
Okay, nice. So yeah, both of us are rolling the transfer, it seems, for this week. Double game week 23. We're going to answer some of your questions, I think. And yeah, read out some comments. But if you guys are watching, if you are enjoying the content, as always, don't forget to drop a like on the video and also subscribe to our YouTube channel, as it really helps the channel grow and helps the video be seen more on YouTube. So like and subscribe, guys. It really helps out a lot. Manish says he's selling De Gea for Kepa, wildcarding in game week 25 because there's loads of blanks. Michael, good evening, chaps. Got 129 points. Triple captain Rashford. Put Edison and Wilson on the bench. Will Man United do well in next game against Leeds? Well done, Michael. Great score, the 129. Obviously, I see you're a fellow triple captainer of Rashford, like me. But yeah, I can see Man United doing well against Leeds. It was 2-2. It could go either way again, and there could be a lot of goals, which showed 4 goals in that one game. We probably expect more goals in that game in the weekend. So I definitely think Bruno, Rashford, etc. are still good holes for that game against Leeds. Chief, nice going, Haas. Bit of luck for you was needed. Yeah, thank you, Chief. Thank you for the comment. Definitely, the Rashford paid off with the green arrow. Manish says, Haas, you beat me by 2 and I beat Jordan by 3. Bruno has got his name as Martinelli. I don't know what he means by that.
Oh, on your slide,
Oh yeah, okay.
there was a few players that were named wrong, but I did correct them.
Okay, FPL Penguin as well in the chat. Hi lads, 85 points this week. Triple captain Rashford carried my team this week. 2k green arrow up to 100k. That's very nice as well. 85 points, good score. Yeah, triple captain Rashford. See a few people went in the chat, which is nice to see. KDB or Mahrez. If I had to pick, obviously I own KDB myself, but if it was a free hit and I could only pick one, I would pick Mahrez personally. If I had to pick, Jordan, do you want to take this one? Would you, if you had to pick between them?
I've already picked Mahrez because he's cheaper, and I don't think KDB's performed to his value.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Animations, White and Fernandez out for KDB and Gabriel are in for me this week. Decent, I guess. You bring in a doubler. And Gabriel, as I said, is probably Arsenal's best pick in terms of defensive assets because he's just got a bit more goal threat than Ben White. Yezi21 with a question. I have a question. I missed triple captain Rashford this week. Should I triple captain next week Haaland, or should I wait? Well, Jordan kind of gave his thoughts on whether you should triple captain Haaland or not. Just I'll add a bit on it, and then if you want to add something else, Jordan. But for me, obviously Haaland's got Villa and Arsenal. I still think it could be a decent it could be a decent triple captain, don't get me wrong, because we've seen in a single game week against Wolves where no one expected Haaland to do much, or maybe not do much, but he goes and scores a hat trick in that single game week. So Haaland definitely is triple captain worthy in any game week, in my opinion. In any double game week, I think he's worth it, because if he scores 1 goal against Villa and then 1 against Arsenal, it's worth it at the end of the day. But I think you've got to decide. I think the Arsenal fixture is quite tricky. If I still had my chip, obviously I don't have it because I used it on Rashford last week, or this week I should say. I would still be a bit wary just because of the Arsenal fixture is quite tough. But I wouldn't be surprised if he goes and scores 2 goals against Villa, if I'm honest. I can see him scoring a couple against Villa. So then he still would be worth it. So you'll have to make that decision up yourself, whether you see better potential doubles coming later down the season. But I don't think I'd do it if I had the chip, personally. Do you agree, Jordan, or anything else you want to add? Because you said the same pretty much.
Yeah, I think if you're looking to triple captain Haaland, for sure, if you're 100% sure, then this is probably the best moment you'll probably have to do it, because later on, when Man City, if they do have more doubles coming up, potentially Haaland could not possibly play both. He'll probably maybe be rested, depending on how the results in other competitions for Man City do unfold. So probably Pep will.
Yeah, sorry, I was saying that's one of the reasons why I put it on Rashford early, because obviously later on down the line in the season when there are more doubles confirmed, but Champions League is gonna play a part, and what happens with Man City in the title race? Are they still neck and neck with Arsenal? If they come out of Europe, then yeah, he becomes a good option again. So it's gonna be, it is you have to juggle Champions League, that conundrum. So you'll have to keep an eye on that. But I think you can still save it. You're going to get more doubles, potentially for Spurs, Harry Kane, with Haaland later down the line when he has better fixtures. Liverpool have a nice double in game week 25. But, I wouldn't want to probably put it on one of their players. But, yeah, I probably would wait just because of the Arsenal fixture. FPL Boo Boo, bench 2. Wilson, Mitro, Botman, Mitoma. Botman and... that's a tough one.
Yeah, because they're at Bournemouth, and I think they get a clean sheet in that.
I always prefer playing the forward players because I think there's just more potential to get points. So I would definitely bench Botman and probably Mitoma, which is crazy. I'd still would probably play Mitrovic against Nottingham Forest. So I don't know. It's a tough one. What would you say? I'm assuming you're going to play Mitoma.
No, I thought about it, but it could be damage limitation because Mitrovic is highly owned, and Wilson. I don't know if Wilson's ownership is high, but
It's not that high, I don't think.
Then, yeah, I probably would play Mitoma and Mitrovic, just because I think Mitoma is going to do well again against Crystal Palace.
Okay, there you go. White is a minutes risk for me, so I want to get guaranteed doublers for Arsenal. Yeah, it's a fair shout. I think even for the goal threat wise from corners, Gabriel is a better choice in case he gets something in sense of a goal. Triple City and Arsenal for me this week. Plus, gonna go and get Dawson and Tarkovsky for the 25 double. Yeah, we're gonna have to plan for game week 25 soon. We know it's a double. There are fixtures confirmed, I think, for Wolves, Liverpool, Everton as well, and another team as well. So yeah, we're gonna have videos out on Double Game Week 25, how we navigate. Should you play your free hit? Should you wild card? What the players you should be looking to bring in, etc. But that's to come in the coming weeks. As always, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you are enjoying the content as well. We are probably going to wrap the stream up here. But yeah, it's been a good stream. Thank you, Yezi, for the questions as well. Yeah, we'll probably wrap it up here. I just want to say a big thank you to everyone that has watched and joined the stream. It's been a good one today. Yeah, so thank you for all your comments as well in the chat. It's been nice answering your questions. And yeah, game week 22 out the way. 23 is looking forward to game week 23. So hopefully I can get another green arrow. Hopefully all of you can get another green arrow as well this week. And yeah, we are back again on Saturday, of course, because the deadline stream is a Saturday deadline. We'll be back at 10 a.m. I think. So yeah, catch us 10 a.m. on a Saturday for the deadline stream. And yeah, tune in for that. But other than that, anything else you want to add, Jordan?
Yes, just thank you as always for your comments. It's always appreciated, and your questions. We always like to answer them. And yeah, hopefully you've all done well in this Double Game Week 23. That's now finished and over and done with. But we move on now to Double Game Week 23. Hopefully it'll be another exciting double for us all, and hopefully we'll get green arrows in it, and that all the players that we've picked do well. But yeah, we'll see you obviously at the weekend for the very interesting deadline stream.
Yeah, as always, thank you guys. Like the stream, subscribe to the channel, and have a good one. Take care.